last episode, we spent some time talking about the wizarding world of Harry Potter and its adaptation into theme parks. In that episode, we discussed some of the implications of the new and upcoming TV show and what that may mean for things that have already been established as locations to visit in the real world based on the film adaptations. Today, however, we're going to be focusing on the TV franchise exclusively. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wizarding World Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm Jasmine.
And today we're going to be focusing on the latest news surrounding the upcoming HBO Max TV series for the Harry Potter book adaptation into a TV adaptation.
Let's get to it.
So throughout the podcast, for you watching on YouTube, you will see us looking down. You'll see me manipulating something off screen. This is a very news-heavy podcast, but in a good way.
Eric dressed for the occasion.
I dressed for the occasion, but in a good way. So we are going to be referencing some stuff that we've written down so we can stay on task and we can hit all the major points with you guys. So just bear with us if you're watching. If you're on Spotify, well, you just won't know. So, Jasmine, I'm going to let you start us off, and I'll bring this a little closer for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Eric. Mm-hmm. So we have been doing a lot of research trying to find any sort of information out there in regards to this upcoming TV show. However, things have been a little bit slow to start.
A little bit stale
for some time now because of this SAG strike, SAG strike. And it's been going on since July 14th. So... However, we have been able to find a little bit of information about the upcoming TV show. Some of it is new news, some of it is reconfirmed news, some of it is just speculative, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yes, all of it matters to us.
Yes, it does.
So to start, I guess it's probably important to point out that the SAG-AFTRA strike has finally ended. It was concluded on November 9th.
Insert celebration noise. Woo!
And we're not going to delve into the details of the SAG strike, how long it went on, all that kind of stuff, or what the conclusions resulted in. We're not that type of channel to get in that deep dive into the news surrounding the entertainment industry, but I think we can all be a little happier knowing that this means that development announcements and further, production components can now take place as it pertains to things like the development of this TV series. And while the development process did start a couple of years ago, and the announcement for it just happened this year, this will have definitely slowed down that production. We're going to get into some timelines a little bit later on, so the slowdown may not have had as huge of an implication as normal, but that'll make sense later on in the podcast.
So, in regards to what we have been able to dig up since and during the SAG strike, for starters, there was confirmation about the structure of the TV show. We've been told that there will be a season per book and that the series will last about 10 years.
Yeah, so it's probably going to span over 10 years.
So, we don't have confirmation in regards to if that is a season a year, and we'll get content either before the books or after the books. Potentially a book will span more than one season, or this is the potential that I like the least. Maybe we don't get a season every year. There are longer delays between season releases.
Yeah, I imagine we'll run into things like we ran into with the later seasons of Game of Thrones, or like we've run into with Outlander.
No.
I know.
So hold on. We're gonna
yeah.
We're gonna knock on wood right there.
In terms of production timeline only, and then some of the like current season, for example, of Outlander, where because of production need and things like that, there will be a little bit more time. That definitely presents a problem, though, with a series that's based on age-specific characters that are younger and grow faster.
Exactly. So something that Eric and I have talked about before is that potentially they'll do all of the filming, especially with the younger actors up front, and then they might be able to add in other scenes or do a slower release date so that we can make sure that we're focusing and getting the content when the child actors are the appropriate ages.
Yeah, and of course we do now have, as opposed to when the films came out, we do have much more advanced sort of de-aging algorithms, so we can make people kind of look younger by using film captured from their younger self. But of course, the best way to capture an organic and true to life performance is to have them acted out without needing any of that sort of retouching in post.
Right.
And all that retouching post does add up when it comes to post-production and when the episodes can be delivered.
Right.
So we don't know what that means in terms of exact timelines for each book, whether or not there'll be the epilogue or things like that, like you had mentioned. But we do know that we'll get at least 7 years, and it's anticipated up to 10. So that's good. Other news revealed about the series, some of it less entertainment-based, has to do with the budget, actually. There's been some specifics released regarding the budget. So HBO Max chairman and CEO Casey Bloys was actually interviewed about the budget excuse me, for the franchise. And given the scale of the project and what we've seen with some of the other newer HBO franchises, he actually stated that it's going to likely have a similar budget to franchises like House of Dragons. I'll get back to why House of Dragons is important, or an important reference later. But House of Dragons, if you're not aware, had a budget of nearly $200 million.
And that's per season.
Per season. And given the guarantee of at least 7 seasons or more, I am expecting that we can see probably, and how big the franchise is, I'm expecting that we can see probably an even higher budget than the $200 million allocated for the Game of Thrones spinoff.
Yes. Very excited about that.
I'm stoked. This probably doesn't seem too exciting of a detail to some people, but if you're at all involved in the world of cinematography or VFX or things like that, having a great budget like that actually makes a world of difference, particularly when it comes to allowing this series to stand the test of time. I think most people, even today, can watch the original Harry Potter movies, especially the first couple, and say, despite being made when they were made, these really hold up. And Jasmine and I were joking a little bit about it because there are certain things that don't, referencing, for example, the Quidditch scenes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Quidditch scenes, in my opinion, that hold up very, very, very well because they were shot as practically as possible. So they were really up on brooms that were suspended up in air. The sort of crane system that was moving the broom around was removed in post using green screen. But there were other parts where it was not great because the characters were replaced by CGI'd characters, so CGI'd people. And at the time, CGI'd people did not look good.
No, they looked like video game characters, and you could very clearly tell the difference of
they looked like PS2 video game characters.
Very important distinction.
Yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy made that valuable.
Yeah.
Anyway, specifically for the first and second movie, those Quidditch matches, if you're looking at a character that isn't a main character, it's rough. So I am thrilled about this budget.
Or when somebody gets knocked off a broom.
Because you can't actually drop actors hundreds of feet to the ground.
Correct.
So you do have to CGI that one. So I'm thrilled about this budget because, I mean, especially with how far we've come technologically, Quidditch matches are going to be incredible.
I mean, I've seen people who have incredibly, like, indie filmmaker budgets using things like Unreal Engine's MetaHuman with mocap suits and stuff like that, or just the free iPhone face capture, and then they'll rig using like Mocha or other things the body.
Right.
And they're incredible. They're incredibly good. So just how far we've come with CGI and the cost of that kind of production has actually, believe it or not, come way down. Rendering is much easier, so production houses can get these things out quicker. That much of a budget really makes a big difference. And I will say, again, looking back at the first couple of movies, things like the spell effects, I think hold up real well.
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, I can, and this is largely because they were so brief in the movies, I can gloss over the pitfalls of CGI with the Quidditch scenes.
Right.
There should be, because, again, this is a direct book adaptation. Quidditch was a big part of the books. Yes. If there's going to be all these Quidditch players and everything up in the sky flying and smacking bludgers at each other and, zooming around for the snitch, you've got to look good. Like, it's got to look good. You've got to sell it. And whether you do that practically or whether you do that using the updated technology we have now doesn't matter as long as it looks good. Mm-hmm. So a better budget allows for that.
So excited to see what these Quidditch matches will look like and what the spells will look like.
Yeah, I think the spells will look good because if they looked as good as they did back then, there's no reason they shouldn't look just as good now. And I don't think they have to change it that much in terms of how they're visually represented. I think they can make tweaks to make it new, but I just think it'll.
Do you think the colors of the spells will stay the same?
Well, there will have to be some consistency there, right? Because Harry is known for having his golden streak when he cast at Voldemort when he's on the motorbike, for example. No, when he's on the motorbike.
Oh, the motorbike, golden. Yes.
And then there's usually the red for Expelliarmus, is the green for Avada Kedavra. So there's certain spells that are named as being, or described as being certain colors.
In the book. Gotcha.
So I think if they're going to make a true to life one-to-one adaptation, that's got to stick to the original descriptor. But again, even how that is portrayed, I think, can vary. Now, since Harry Potter's come out, and we've received sort of like our first real visual representation of wand magic. Tons of people have gone on to make like fan films or spin-offs or things like that where they use wand magic, and it's very much emulated in a similar way. Okay. Kind of like energy spilling out of the wand and clashing, and there's almost like a fluid versus spark kind of element to it. So I imagine there's probably going to be some more of that in the TV adaptation. They're going to try to have some continuity there. But I'm sure because it's a whole new thing, they'll want to tweak it and make it their own a little bit. Yeah,
I agree. Is there a reason that sometimes you see the energy spilling out of the wand and sometimes you don't?
So the way the films portrayed it is a sustained spell. Like when their wands are connecting, for example, that creates a sustained sort of stream of magic. That's when you're seeing it continue to spill out of the wand. Versus every other spell is a quick flash that comes out of the wand and sort of travels forth as like a cluster of energy.
But not every spell has something that comes out of the wand. Like if you think about it when they're just doing Leviosa in Charms class, you don't have anything that you can see coming out of the wand, but you see the impact on the object.
Yeah, so I do think that there's a couple times where they've used something, if you're familiar with like Adobe Premiere Pro or any of those editing softwares, After Effects, they'll use something like turbulent displacement where it almost creates like a heat wave effect to symbolize something levitating.
Got you.
They did do that in some of them, although the first time Hermione does it,
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So I think, depending on where you look in the series, magic was changed.
Okay.
The sound for magic was also changed throughout the series based on it being more of a physical thing versus an emotional thing versus like a sort of like a power. There's also all sorts of discussions of like what kind of magic is this, because different franchises represent magic differently in terms of the toll it takes on the caster.
Right.
Harry kind of is like more of a passive magic where it doesn't take much of a toll. Although if you look at some fan fictions that took place after the fact, which we'll get into in another episode, it does take more of a toll depending on the type of magic. So I think they have a lot of room to have a lot of fun with it.
Yes.
But again, I think the big thing for us is going to be the fact that this budget that they are allocating to it, being HBO and being such a big production company, really opens us up to being able to have a good, really good VFX team, and their work should stand the test of time.
Absolutely. My biggest hope for them is for consistency.
Yeah, continuity is key.
We make decisions in film one, they live through, or book one, season one, they gotta live through until the end.
Agreed.
Sounds, the visuals of magic and what it feels like and what it means.
Yeah.
That'll help me to really appreciate this world.
So where are we at with casting?
So there are 1,000,001 rumors that are going around out there. HBO Max has really tried to keep everything about this series pretty close to the vest. Mm-hmm. So their team has not reached out to or made contact with, casting agents or managers or anything in that ballpark.
At least up until the time of the SAG strike, as far as we know.
As far as we know. However, there is a rumor that Cillian Murphy has been approached in regards to playing Lord Voldemort.
That would be pretty cool.
I agree. So it's not clear.
It's like mixed feelings, though.
Right. So it's not clear if it's the like Tom Riddle that comes out of the diary earlier in the season.
I think that
in
would be
the
too
books.
young. Yeah.
So okay. So today I learned Cillian Murphy is 47, which blew my mind.
And like 5'7" and 3/4.
5'7" and 3/4. Fair point. But I think it's important to say that like he doesn't look 47.
No. So it's tough because if you think about Voldemort, we should be getting exposure to him throughout the franchise at different ages, right? We have child Voldemort when he's at Wolf's Orphanage in the flashback, so real young. We have 16-year-old Voldemort in the diary.
Yes.
We have slightly older Voldemort, likely in his 20s, 30s,
when he's doing
or
things
so.
with Hepzibah.
Yeah, so when he's seen in the flashbacks and he's working at Borgin and Burke's, and he worked there a good long time.
Right.
And so, I mean, that age span is pretty wide and could allow for Cillian Murphy to play that role.
Right.
We also have the fact that with makeup, prosthetics, which they will likely use, and again, VFX, they can certainly make him look older because by the time we meet Voldemort in like Goblet of Fire and he's come back, he looks completely different than he looked as a kid.
Yeah.
All that dark magic has literally taken away from his body.
Right.
So I think that's a cool rumor. I love Cillian Murphy. I think he's awesome. He is a UK citizen, so he could fit that qualification if that's something they're going to truly stick to.
Right. That is something we've talked about before. J.K. Rowling has stated that she would like all of the actors within the series to be UK actors.
The one thing I think might be tough is she also had mentioned that very much specifically for the kids, no name actors. Like, I don't want people who are affiliated with other major franchises that people are going to really associate them with.
Right.
She would like that, from what I heard, in the older actors as well. So any main characters, including, obviously Voldemort, Dumbledore, Severus Snape's going to be a big one, Sirius Black, Hagrid, all these people who are really integral to the main storyline and are there for more than one movie, I think are going to be important to make sure that they're distinguished from other franchises.
Right. And I do agree with that.
Yeah.
However,
Cillian Murphy's awesome.
Cillian Murphy.
The in-house team for recruitment, so HBO and all sorts of other production houses, Warner Brothers really at large, they have like their in-house recruitment as well. So it is very possible that they have approached talent, probably not child actors yet, but talent to fill some of the older characters' roles already. But there's been no definitive casting. Why don't we delve into some of the rumors? We looked at a number of different rumor sites, Screen Rant, Scotsman, Backstage, all sorts of other rumor sites to see what are people sort of feeling out there for possible candidates for characters. So we're going to talk about some of them, and then I don't have strong opinions about UK actors that I could put forth, but I think we could talk about a little bit some of our opinions on who might be good fits.
Yeah.
So starting with some of the rumors that we've ran into, I'm going to let you start with the first one because you mentioned this before.
So a number of the actors that have been approached or have been speculated that they would make good, fits for some of the main characters. So Ron, Harry, and Hermione. Currently, they're at the appropriate age. For example, a couple of them.
Yeah.
For example, Bronte Carmichael.
So hold on, before we even get to that one, talk about the first one you already mentioned. Yeah.
Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Good point. Adam Driver has been speculated that he could potentially play Snape. Now, he fits none of the criteria that J.K. Rowling has put out there. None whatsoever. He is not a UK actor. He is known as many other films.
Kylo, right? Kylo.
Right. He's Kylo Ren. I'd have a hard time seeing him as anyone else. However, he would, in my opinion, visually and vocally make a really good Snape.
Yeah. I think he definitely has the presence, which is why people want it, and he has the visual characteristics, which is why people want it. He's just so recognizable.
Right. It won't happen, but much like Cillian Murphy, it would be awesome if it did.
Now, Cillian Murphy, of course, has the fact that he's a UK citizen.
Right.
Although he does have other pretty notable roles. Peaky Blinders.
Thomas Shelby.
Thomas Shelby in the Peaky Blinders. He was also in Oppenheimer recently. I mean, pretty massive Christopher Nolan film. I mean, he's been in a lot. He's been in Batman as the Scarecrow. So,
oh, yes.
Or psychologist / Scarecrow. So
No, he was a Scarecrow.
yeah, so that kind of brings me down a little bit.
See, but it's like I want it, but I don't want it, but also I want it.
Yeah.
Because for me, and I've been pretty consistent about this, I'm going to need a whole new cast. I'm going to need a new sound, new visuals, if I'm going to buy into this and not miss the original movie series.
Not immediately mentally go back to the original.
Exactly. I don't want to be making comparisons and things like that.
I do hope it's distinguishable enough where I don't just start doing it.
Right. And so I think one of the things that really allowed me to delve into the original movie series is the fact that I really didn't know anyone who was in it. I didn't have this, mental representation of what they were or who else they were. I'm never going to be able to see Cillian Murphy as anyone other than Thomas Shelby. If he's not wearing a hat with razor blades, what is the point? So
I can definitely see him as other characters because that's not the first place I saw him. And I just think he's good at varying his role well enough. But even when I was watching Oppenheimer, there was a moment where I'm like, say the words. So, it is
hard.
tough. Yeah.
It's hard. I want it, but at the end of the day, I don't want it.
And I totally understand J.K. Rowling's perspective on that.
Absolutely. It's a hard decision to make, but I'm glad she's made it.
It is. Go ahead and pick up where I interrupted you.
Back to the children.
Weird transition.
I'm good at this. So Bronte Carmichael has been, speculated that she might be able to play Hermione Granger, but currently she's 13. She is a British citizen, so she fits that criteria. But if she's 13 now and we're still in the pre-production stage,
she's way too old.
I mean, she's too old for the role currently.
Now. Yeah, so like if she was cast today and they started filming, she's 2 years too old. She's got to be 11. And you could definitely say, well, we can give it some leeway, blah, blah, blah. Girls mature faster than boys at this age group. So if she's already 13, she's going to look like she's already well past the age range.
Right.
In fact, Hermione, or I should say Emma Watson playing Hermione, she was one of the youngest in the cast.
Right.
And I don't know that was very specifically intentional for those reasons, but it certainly helped to make her continue to look her age.
Exactly.
Because girls do physically mature faster. Everybody knows that. So I think she would be, aesthetically she looks like the part. I just don't think she's a good choice or even a possible choice because of her current age.
Agreed.
I do think she could be a good choice for Lily in the flashbacks. Or, depending on when the series comes out, adult Lily. So.
Yeah.
Because she's got red hair and I think she could play Lily.
Yeah, in the flashbacks, I totally see that when she's meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Toby Wolfe is another British actor who's rumored to be a frontrunner for Harry Potter himself, so the main man. It would not be his first role, and having been born at the end of 2008, he's already 15. So I'm going to go ahead and say right now, he is not going to be Harry Potter. And he was on 10 different rumor sites as speculative Harry Potter. So unless they started filming years ago, it's literally not happening.
I would love that.
Yeah, so that would be interesting.
That would be awesome.
Talk about movie magic.
Magical.
Joshua Pickering's another one who's rumored for Ron Weasley, but again, he's too old to play an 11-year-old because he's already in his teens. One of the silliest rumors that we've come across. I actually like this guy somehow fitting in, but not in this way.
So Eric has stated that it would be fantastic if Tom Felton were to come back, potentially playing...
No. Not playing that character.
Not playing that character?
Okay.
Well, the rumor is that he could have come back as Lucius Malfoy. Yeah. However...
Yeah, so even though I think he could certainly pull off the character, I don't... It would be way too distracting. I think if he was to try to somehow sneak into the cast, it would have to be as a masked Death Eater. He would just have to be somebody who is there. We have no idea who he is, but he gets to go, I was back on Harry Potter, and you didn't even know it, but I was there. I'd be okay with that, but that would be I can't see his face, or I know who you are.
See, I could see his face. There is movie magic and there is makeup. So I
would
can't
have to be
hear
a-
his voice. So for me, if he was, one of those unnamed professors that just sat at the table, or
I guess you could do that, but I still...
like a wizard in Diagon Alley, just
Yeah,
something
like an
small, like an extra. I could see his face, but the second I hear his voice, it's over for me.
Yeah.
The magic, unfortunately, is gone.
I think he has a pretty discernible face. I'd see him and I'd be like, oh, it's Draco! But it's not. But it is.
See, but it's like, it would be one of those fun things to pick out. It's like picking out specific swords in the Game of Thrones.
True.
Throne.
It would be fun for those of us who have watched the original franchise and know that, hey, this is just... It's a new adaptation of that franchise, and it's okay for these little teases.
I mean, I think that we should be rewarded for being fans throughout. So.
I do too. Yeah, that's fair.
Things to keep in mind.
So that's another one that's been rumored. I don't think he'll be allowed, particularly not a major role of any kind.
Right. I definitely don't see that happening. They've stated that they're not looking to reach out to any of the original film cast to be involved. So
and some of them have specifically been interviewed. Tom Felton has expressed interest, but there hasn't been a reciprocal interest expressed, as far as I'm aware. Daniel Radcliffe has certainly been interviewed about it, but said, I have no intentions of being involved in the franchise. I think it's time to pass the torch, and they don't need me to literally do that. Somebody else just needs to take over, and it's their time to shine.
Right.
Rupert Grint and Emma Watson have also been approached, and I think the way Rupert put it was, I won't come back unless the other two come back, the other two mains. And Emma has essentially just kind of put up her middle finger to the franchise, which I think is a little uncool. I won't express too much of an opinion on that because I know people have mixed feelings about that. But it is the franchise who kind of gave her start, whether it's her subsequent roles as an actress or her role in the UN, striving to fight for women's rights or what have you. She would have had a hard time getting to those positions if she didn't have this history. Ralph Fiennes, I believe, has also been... excuse me. I know he's been interviewed about it. I don't think he's been approached to actually come back, but in interviews he said, I would have loved to come back and reprise my role as Voldemort. As an adult Voldemort, he certainly could. I don't think there's any age issues there because he is... his character, Voldemort, is in his 70s at this point.
That's true.
Though he was never made to look like that. I suppose wizards age differently anyways.
True.
I don't know that would specifically detract from the new franchise, but I don't, if you're going to do new, do new. Right?
Yeah, it's a no from me.
Yeah. Again, if it was continuous, if he was Voldemort throughout the whole thing, it wouldn't take away. I just don't see the point.
See, I like the idea more of an actor, not Cillian Murphy, but someone like that who looks younger, but can be aged up. Because I like the idea of a consistent Voldemort from...
as young of an age as reasonably possible.
Exactly. So that we can have the same person playing adult ones.
Yeah, somebody like Cillian would be good because you could age them down for like the older, young Voldemort. Have him at middle age and then age him up.
Exactly.
Yeah. In terms of those actors, none of them returning, would be good with that. That would be fine to start new. The new series, new actors, new experience, and with people like, Richard Harris and Michael Gambon already passing, who played Dumbledore, Robbie Coltrane, who played Hagrid.
Robbie.
Much love, Robbie. The actress who played Narcissa Malfoy, who was also very distinguishable in other roles. She was also in Peaky Blinders.
Polly.
Auntie Polly. With these people missing from the franchise, it also kind of doesn't feel right to have the other actors and actresses reprise their roles. It's like you kind of have to start new if not everybody's coming back.
Right.
And plus we don't want new for the sake of new, but new allows us to start fresh and form new attachments and new emotions to these characters.
Right.
I mean, I think that's That's mostly my opinions on the characters. It would be really hard to see any of them come back and not associate them immediately with their prior roles.
So very, very long story short,
Yeah.
no one from the old cast, no one that we know, and
No one that
only
we
you-
associate, strongly with a franchise.
Right, no one that we associate strongly with the franchise, no popular or known actors, only UK actors, and more or less we really don't have any information on the cast.
Yeah, no specifics have been released at this point. With that said, now that the SAG strike is over, I do think we're going to start seeing a lot more news coming out. This allows the production team, the writers, the casting agents, and everybody to really delve back in, get back to work. And hopefully they've already hit the ground running to get this going. Because this is a really, really big IP for Warner Brothers Studios or HBO Max. In case you don't know what IP means, I've learned some people don't. Intellectual property. So this is a huge franchise for them to work with, and they want to make the most out of it for as long as possible, as far as I know.
I'm okay with that.
You want to? I'll have you jump into the next part because there was another interview with another Warner Brothers executive.
Why don't you take that?
Okay. So I wanted to cover one more thing about the Harry Potter universe. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav was interviewed about the whole process of coming out with this franchise and what it means for the long term, and whether or not there would be other projects related to the Harry Potter franchise outside of the specific main story. He didn't provide any specific details on other projects that they were working on. He did offer clarification on some of the things that they can and cannot do without the direct involvement of J.K. Rowling. I know that has been a sticking point for some people. So, for example, they want to go full steam ahead with this project, and to do so, the agreement states that J.K. Rowling has to be involved. So the adaptation of the books will involve J.K. Rowling in the entire pre-production, production, and post-production process. She will have say on just about everything as far as has been made aware. In terms of, in terms of going ahead with any further expansions such as sequels, prequels, spin-offs, or anything like that, the Marauders, things like Origins of the Air. There've been all sorts of fan fictions that have been made already. If they wanted to do any franchises like that, or a major prequel talking about the first Wizarding War with Voldemort, finishing out the stuff that was left out with Fantastic Beasts, so the major battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. If they wanted to do that, as far as their agreement reads, they would not need J.K. Rowling to be directly involved and to sign off on everything for that. Now, they could choose to involve her, because it is still, her world that she's built, and she has a massive amount of knowledge about all these characters and their backgrounds and could really add a lot to the story. But they don't need it. I think that could be really interesting. Mm-hmm. However, I think our priority, our focus, needs to be on this franchise, giving it as much as we possibly can to make it the best possible adaptation of the books that you could possibly ever want. I don't want any of the shortcomings that we ran into later in the HBO Game of Thrones series.
No, don't.
But, hold on. And the benefit here is that they have all the books. HBO fell short when they ran out of books to cite from.
Right, and that was their problem. But if you keep making the comparison, we're bad jujuing this franchise.
I mean, it's Harry Potter. It's got to be good.
It's got to.
So, they're going to expand. They're going to rebrand HBO, and they want this to be one of the cornerstones of that endeavor. Yes. And so I think they are very, very, very invested in making this the best possible adaptation that fans could ever ask for. And that's it.
That's it.
The strike's concluded. We're going to, keep your wands crossed and your potions brewing so that we could get some more liquid luck, that some new news would come out. And if there is new news, be sure to return to our channel to hear about it. We do have some more ideas in the work. We're going to be in the works. We're going to be talking about some of the other parts of the IP that are being expanded, such as Hogwarts Legacy and some of the other aspects of the Wizarding world.
Hogwarts Legacy is now available on Nintendo Switch as an FYI.
Yes. I don't know how great the gameplay is because I haven't gotten to see it in person, but I know on PlayStation 4 and 5 it's been excellent.
Has been excellent.
Xbox, it's been excellent. So you'll see some episodes in the future regarding that. Those will be fun to watch on YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify, you may want to check out our YouTube channel because you'll have all sorts of inserts from the actual game where we capture footage and put that in. Outside of that, there was one more thing I wanted to mention, and I don't think I can remember what it was, so we'll end it there.
I'm going to get Eric a Remembrall for Christmas.
I know. Only thing is I can't remember what I forgot.
Oh, my goodness.
That was another thing. Useless things in the Wizarding world.
Useless things.
So that's it for this episode. We appreciate you joining us for another episode of the Wizarding World Legacy podcast. And until next time, bye.
Bye.